What if I told you that the moment you begin to feel invisible, in your mind that decides what is acceptable and what is not? When you stop performing in this deeper sense, when you stop offering your genuine energy into the world, you do not disappear because the world is cruel or blind. You disappear because you have withdrawn. You have pulled your energy back, folded it inward, not in the healthy way of introspection, but in the protective way of someone who has decided, consciously or not, that it is no longer worth the risk. And here is where it becomes interesting, where the psychological and the spiritual begin to merge in that strange, undeniable way that Carl Jung spent his entire life mapping. Jung understood that the psyche is not a static thing, not a fixed personality that you carry with you unchanged from birth to death. He understood that the unconscious is always speaking, always sending up signals, dreams, slips of the tongue, sudden emotional reactions that seem disproportionate to the situation. He understood that when something shifts inside you, when you begin to feel invisible, when you begin to sense that the world has turned away from you, this is not random. It is not punishment. It is a message. The unconscious is trying to show you something about the way you have been living, about the persona you have been wearing, about the gap that has opened up between who you truly are and who you have been pretending to be, even to yourself. Jung spoke often about the persona, that mask we wear in social situations, the face we present to the world. And he was clear that the persona is necessary, that we cannot function in society without some degree of adaptation, some ability to meet others where they are, to speak the language of the collective. But he also warned that when we identify too completely with the persona, when we forget that it is a mask and begin to believe it is our true face, we lose contact with the self, with that deeper center of being that exists beyond all roles, beyond all performances. And when that contact is lost, something inside us begins to wither. We begin to feel hollow, mechanical, as though we are going through the motions without any real connection to why we are doing what we are doing. And others sense this, not consciously perhaps, but they sense it nonetheless. They sense that there is no one home, that the person standing in front of them is a collection of learned behaviors, a series of responses designed to elicit approval, but lacking the vitality, the presence, the realness that actually draws people in. So in this exploration, in this slow unfolding of what it means to feel invisible and what that feeling is trying to tell you, I want to share with you several signs. the beginning of the return, the beginning of making yourself visible again, not by performing for approval, but by simply being willing to be seen as you are. The third sign is that you have stopped creating. You have stopped making things, writing things, building things, expressing things. You used to have projects, hobbies, creative outlets that gave you a sense of purpose, a sense of flow, a sense of being engaged with something larger than your own immediate concerns. But somewhere along the way, you stopped. Maybe you told yourself you did not have time, or that what you were making was not good enough, or that no one cared anyway. So what was the point? And so the creative energy that used to move through you, that used to give you a sense of vitality and meaning, that energy has nowhere to go. It turns inward, becomes stagnant, becomes a kind of low-grade depression, a flatness, a sense that nothing really matters. And this is perhaps the most insidious form of stopping performance, because creation is the ultimate act of making yourself visible, not to others necessarily, but to yourself, to the universe, to the mystery that moves through you when you allow it to. When you create, you're saying, I am here, I have something to offer, I am participating in the unfolding of reality rather than just passively observing it. And when you stop creating, you are saying the opposite. You are saying, I do not matter, my contributions are meaningless, I am not worth the effort it takes to bring something new into being. Jung understood that creativity is not just for artists, not just for people with special talents or training. He understood that creativity is a fundamental human need, a way of engaging with the unconscious, of giving form to the formless, of making visible the invisible. He understood that when we create, we are not just making things. We are making ourselves, we are discovering who we are. We are allowing the self to emerge through the act of creation. And when we stop creating, we stop growing, we stop evolving, we stop becoming. We become fixed, static, dead in the water. Think about the last time you made something, anything, without worrying about whether it was good enough, without comparing it to what others have made, without needing it to be perfect or impressive or worthy of praise. Think about the last time you allowed yourself to simply play, to experiment, to follow your curiosity without a clear destination in mind. If it has been a long time, if you cannot remember, then you have stopped performing in this essential way, and your invisibility is the direct result. Because when you are not creating, when you're not expressing, when you're not bringing something new into the world, you become invisible even to yourself. You lose track of who you are, what you care about, what makes you come alive. You become a consumer rather than a creator, passively taking in what others have made, scrolling through feeds, watching videos, reading articles, but never adding your own voice, your own vision, your own unique expression to the mix. And the world feels this absence. Not consciously, not in a way that anyone could articulate, but energetically, the world feels when someone has stopped contributing, when someone has stopped participating in the creative unfolding of life. And that person becomes invisible, not because they're being punished, not because they are unworthy, but because they have removed themselves from the field of creation, from the dance of making and unmaking that is the essence of life itself. So if you have stopped creating, the question is not why no one sees you, but why you have stopped seeing yourself, why you have stopped honoring the creative impulse that is your birthright, your essence, your connection to the source of all being. And the way back is not to suddenly become a great artist or writer or musician. The way back is to simply begin again, to pick up the pencil, the paintbrush, the keyboard, the guitar, whatever tool allows you to express what is inside you, and to use it, not for applause, not for validation, not for proof of your worth, but simply because you are alive, and alive things create, they grow, they change, they contribute to the ongoing story of the world. The fourth sign is that you have stopped taking care of yourself. Not in the obvious ways, perhaps. You still shower, you still eat, you still go through the basic motions of maintaining your physical existence. But there is a deeper level of self-care that has fallen away, a level that has to do with honoring your needs, your desires, your boundaries, your well-being. You have stopped asking yourself what you need. You have stopped checking in with your body, your emotions, your energy levels. You have stopped saying no to things that drain you and yes to things that nourish you. You have become passive, reactive, allowing life to happen to you rather than actively shaping your experience. And this too is a form of stopping performance, because to take care of yourself, to truly care for your own well-being, requires a kind of ongoing attentiveness, a willingness to prioritize your own needs even when it is inconvenient, even when others might disapprove, even when it means disappointing people or setting boundaries that feel uncomfortable. It requires you to perform the role of your own advocate, your own protector, your own loving parent. And when you stop performing this role, when you stop caring for yourself in this deep way, you become invisible to yourself. You lose track of what you need, what you want, what feels right or wrong in your body. You become numb, disconnected, going through the motions without any real sense of why you're doing what you're doing. And others sense this too. They sense that you are not home, that you are not present, that you are running on empty. And they may pull back, not because they do not care, but because there is nothing to connect with, no energy to meet, no presence to engage. You have become a shell, a hollow version of yourself. And while people may feel sympathy for you, they cannot truly see you because you are not truly there. You have abandoned yourself, and in abandoning yourself, you have become invisible, not just to others, but to the very life force that animates all things. Jung spoke of the importance of the ego, not in the inflated sense of narcissism, but in the healthy sense of having a strong center, a sense of I, a capacity to make choices and take responsibility for one's own life. And when you stop taking care of yourself, when you stop honoring your own needs and boundaries, you're weakening the ego. You are allowing yourself to be dissolved into the needs and demands of others, to be swept along by forces outside yourself, to be a victim rather than an agent. And this weakening of the ego does not lead to enlightenment or selflessness. It leads to resentment, exhaustion, invisibility. It leads to a life that feels like it is happening to you rather than being created by you. So the question is, when did you stop caring for yourself? When did you stop listening to your body when it said it was tired, your heart when it said it was hurting, your soul when it said it needed beauty, silence, rest? When did you decide that your needs were less important than everyone else's, that your well-being was optional, that you could keep giving and giving without ever refilling your own cup? And what would it mean to begin again, to start performing the essential role of self-care, not as a luxury or an indulgence, but as a fundamental responsibility, a way of honoring the life that has been given to you? The fifth sign is that you have stopped believing, not necessarily in God or in some religious doctrine, though that may be part of it, but in the deeper sense of believing in the possibility of change, of growth, of things getting better. You have stopped believing that your efforts matter, that your actions make a difference, that there is any point in trying. You have become cynical, resigned, defeated. You go through the motions because you have to, because bills need to be paid and responsibilities need to be met. But there is no hope animating your actions, no vision of a better future pulling you forward. You are simply surviving, enduring, waiting for it to be over. And this loss of belief is perhaps the most devastating form of stopping performance, because belief, hope, faith, whatever you want to call it, this is the fuel that powers all meaningful action. Without it, you are like a car running on fumes, moving forward but barely, knowing that at any moment you could simply stop, and maybe that would be a relief. When you stop believing, you stop performing in the deepest sense, because performance, in the way I am using the word, is not about pretending or putting on a show. It is about enacting your life with intention, with purpose, with a sense that what you do matters, that you're you are worthless. You are invisible because you have stopped performing the essential acts that make a human being visible, that make a life meaningful, that make existence something more than just waiting to die. And the good news, the hopeful news, the news that can begin to reorganize your entire relationship to yourself and your life, is that you can begin again. You can choose, right now, in this moment, to start performing again, not in the false way of pretending to be someone you're not, but in the true way of showing up as you are, of offering your presence, your voice, your creativity, your care, your belief, even when it is messy, even when it is imperfect, even when you're not sure it will make any difference. You can choose to reach out to someone, not to test whether they care, but simply because you care, because you want to connect, because isolation is killing you, and you are ready to risk being disappointed if it means there is even a small chance of being met. You can choose to speak, to share something true, something real, something that reveals who you actually are beneath all the protective layers. You can choose to create something, anything, not because it needs to be good or impressive, but because you are alive and alive things create. You can choose to care for yourself, to honor your needs, to set boundaries, to ask for what you want, to treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer to someone you love. You can choose to believe, even just a little, in the possibility that things can change, that growth is possible, that meaning can be found even in the midst of suffering. These choices will not make you instantly visible. They will not guarantee that others will see you or value you or appreciate you in the way you long to be appreciated, but they will make you visible to yourself. They will reconnect you to your own life, to your own vitality, to your own sense of being real and present and engaged. And that is where visibility begins, not in the eyes of others, but in your own eyes, in your own heart, in your own willingness to show up and participate and perform the essential acts that make a human life worth living. So I invite you, in the days and weeks to come, to notice when you are withdrawing, when you're holding back, when you are playing it safe. Notice the moments when you want to reach out but do not, when you want to speak but stay silent, when you want to create but convince yourself it is not worth it, when you want to rest but push yourself to keep going, when you want to hope but choose cynicism instead. Notice these moments without judgment, without making yourself wrong, but simply with curiosity, with compassion, with a willingness to see clearly what is actually happening. And then, when you are ready, choose differently. Choose to perform, in the deepest sense of that word, the essential acts of being alive, of being present, of being visible. Not for applause, not for validation, not to prove anything to anyone, but simply because you are here and you matter, and the world needs what only you can offer, even if you cannot see that yet, even if you do not believe it yet, even if it feels like a lie. Choose to act as if it is true, and watch what begins to shift, what begins to open, what begins to become possible. And if you found something valuable in this exploration, if something here resonated with you, or challenged you, or helped you see yourself more clearly, I invite you to like this video, to subscribe to this channel, to leave a comment sharing your own experience of invisibility and what you are learning about how to become visible again. Not because I need your validation, but because your voice matters, because your story matters, because the act of sharing is itself a form of performance, a way of making yourself visible, a way of saying, I am here, I am real, I am participating in this strange and beautiful and difficult thing called being human. And that is enough. That is more than enough. That is everything.